nyamini, koko nyamini, nyamini, koko nyamini, nyamini, koko nyamini, nyamini, ibole, ibole, ibobono, ndamamihe, ibole, ibole, ibobono, ndamamihe. Ebulanyelu, anamabara na ihe dị njọ ma na-emezi konyo feke, anamabara no n'ihe dị njọ ma na-emezi konye feke. Igbo bụ n'ndike, ụmụ Igbo bụ n'ndike, ụmụ Igbo bụ n'ndike, ụmụ Igbo bụ n'ndike. Koko nyamini, nyamini, koko nyamini, nyamini, koko nyamini, nyamini, koko nyamini, nyamini. Hey, cha 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 cha. Igbo kwazon, yeah. Cha 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 cha. Igbo kwazon, yeah. Ihe ji mara ndị ihe bụ ọrụ aka ha. Ihe ji mara ndị ihe bụ ihe aka ha. Ihe ji mara ndị ihe bụ ọrụ aka ha. Ụmụ Igbo. Anyị anya were omenala dowe n'azụ, were omenala ndị ọzọ bulie elu. Anyị anya were omenala Igbo dowe n'azụ, were omenala ndị ọzọ bulie elu. Ihe anyị na-eme Chineke na ọ dịrọ ọzọ mma. Ihe anyị na-eme Chineke ọ dịrọ mma. Ihe anyị na-eme. Good morning, Dewonu. Onofia onozo toderegema. Wherever you find yourself today, may nothing but goodness follow you. That is what I hope and pray for each and every one of you. I don't know where you are, but where I am is extremely cold. I've been trying for the last how many days to go out there and work on the yard, because usually around this time it's quite warm, but for whatever reason, in Georgia, it is just extremely cold. So I think I'm going to stay home and drink my coffee and stay warm. Welcome all of you, wherever you are. I hope all is going well with you. Given the nature of all the things going on in our world, anybody who is still walking amongst the living should be grateful. Before I get started today, I would like to bring in my co-host, Chiist Dibias Otraja, Chiist on your hat.
Hi, everybody. Nice to be back. Well, this is our second show since we came back from Nigeria. The excitement is real. You know, it's been a steep mountain to climb, but we're getting to the precipice now, and I am so happy. I feel blessed, and together, no mountain is too high for us to conquer. So let's go do it.
Yes, indeed. And I would like to end. Dibias, how are you? Happy New Year. How are you today?
Yeah, we can't hear you though.
See you.
We can't hear him. We can't.
You need to. We can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
Dibia, we can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
Is he muted or something on your end? Okay, Dibia.
No, he's not muted. He's going to come in. Work on your mic. Work on your mic.
Okay.
Work on your mic. At this time, I'm going to give him an opportunity to work on his mic. Yeah. And we're going to get started. Yudi, I'm telling you, what a blessing. What a blessing. I mean, just when you just sit down and you just read the news all over the world, you just have to thank Chineke for the blessings of life, because, we are really the lucky few. There are just so many people who are not seeing this day. And here we are. So we should be very grateful. I'm particularly, the show that we have today is a very interesting one. And it's something that we should talk about. And the reason why this is very important is because we owe the world, religions owe the world an apology before we start talking about what religion is good and what religion is not. The Abrahamic religions owe the world an apology. But before we go into that, let me remind all of you that this is the month of Ikudochie, the feminine Arunsi, ascribed to the blessings of water. And we all know that water is the most critical aspect of life. And without water, we'll have no life. And certainly without woman, there is no life either. So this month, we need to be grateful for the blessing of water that Chineke gave us, and the blessing of our daughters, blessing of our mothers, blessing of our wives, blessing of femininity, feminine energy. And all of us should embrace it this particular month. Be you male, be you female, embrace it, because all of us have a certain aspect of femininity in us. This is the month that we are encouraged to be very nurturing, patient, and compassionate. Those are attributes that are associated with Ikudochie, femininity. And as you know, as I indicated, without the critical water, there is no life. So it's pretty much important that some of these blessings that we take for granted, that we give honor and thanks, and encourage everyone to do the same. Let me offer a prayer. And I'm going to tell you very honestly, when you offer a prayer, these days you ask, what kind of prayer do we offer? What kind of prayer do we offer? There's so much going on in our world, and sometimes you just come out empty. When you internalize what's going on, you get confused, and the breath is just taken out of you when you have to sit down and give supplication, when you have to sit down and give prayers, when you want to honor Chineke, you have to ask some questions. What is going on? Where is Chineke in all of this? But let us remember that Chineke gave each and every one of us the opportunity and the right to make decisions. So some of what we see has nothing to do with Chineke. It has a lot to do with the decisions that we make. So as we offer a prayer today, let us offer a prayer taking into consideration the fact that we make decisions. That is part of the gift of life. How we choose to use it is what's causing some of the some of the problems that we have in the world today. And I'm going to ask all of you to just be quiet wherever you are. Just take a moment and inhale and exhale and do it again. That right there tells you that you are alive, you are well. That means you have the opportunity to keep moving, to keep going. You didn't die yesterday. You're still walking amongst the living. So that means your life is still very, very worthy, and you need to start considering what to do with it. Do not get excited about the unknown, because when you give Chineke your trust and you offer your supplication and give of yourself in service of Chineke, you will find peace within, which will go beyond all understanding. And you will realize that nothing that's going on in this world is intolerable. part of what's going on is the decisions that other people are making, but you don't have to make that mistake yourself. You don't have to make decisions that contribute to what's going on in the world. What you must do is to contribute to the good, to put the positive energy out there so that the world will be a better place. Don't contribute to the acrimony that's going on. Be the source and the reason for goodness in our world. If you're not afraid of the unknown, you feel secure in the company of Chineke. Monachiso, as long as Chineke is there with you, you are going to be okay. You're going to be a good contributor. And that's one of the things that I say as a Chiist. You always have to ask yourself, who am I? What is it that I bring to the table? Do I have the right to inhale and exhale? Or do I have an obligation to make things better? Where I see things wrong, do I step in and make things better? Chineke, according to the Nkomidin so, Chineke narotitum. Narotito anyị. Accept our prayers today. Before we get started with anything, let us just please take a moment and talk to Chineke, to forgive our tendency to get excited often. I know I do, Chineke. I realize that I act like there is no tomorrow when things are not going quite well. Like I'm a walking, ticking time bomb that will detonate at any moment. I realize that many of us feel that way as well. My troubles pile up as often as I get rid of some of them. When my new challenges appear, Chineke, sometimes I truly don't know how to handle them. The way that a wounded animal knows to limp to safety, I pretty much stand there not sure what to do. And Chineke, please, it's not just me. I know that some of the members who are here today feel the same way. It is at this moment that we should be able to hear your voice ring in our ears like the soft landing of an eagle's feather on a seabed of daffodils, reminding us not to agonize. Remind me, Chineke, not to agonize today over things that I have no control over. Chineke, I know that you expect my life to work exceptionally well. But I have to consent to it. The blessing is already at my feet. You have already handed it out to me. Now I have to consent to it. Nothing can happen without me deciding to do what it takes to make the journey feasible and undaunting. I ask for the same for everyone who is in this forum and those who are not in this forum. I ask this for humanity. I need to be a part of my healing. I'm promising you, Chineke, today that I will give you all that I can with all the love for you that I have in my heart. I should not be a source of angst towards you. I should be the source of joy. When you see me, when you observe my actions, it should give you pride. I ask you to answer my prayers today as often as I offer it. I trust you in everything that I do. Yes, I do, Chineke. I believe that my path is strong, as open as the strands of the universe, and that I can attain whatever I want, whatever I need. I want to thank you for giving me, my honorable ancestors, the beauty and abundance of nature as a mirror into your liberality. Thank you, Chineke. You have shown me that in you all things are possible, and that I need to calm down, stay down, and know that the only thing impossible is when I no longer have breath. Please spare me poison people with hatred that course through their veins as part of the ingredients for their existence. May I never normalize their existence in my life. When I pass through, Chineke, may this go the other way. Today, Chineke, I ask you to allow me to be like a bird. Let me in flight, not hit any tree. Because birds don't hit trees in flight. Let me be like a duck in water. Let me not drown in my sorrow, because ducks don't drown. Let me continue to float in spite of all the challenges in my life. Let me be like the chicken. that can go anywhere and nothing permeates, nothing pierces their feet, nothing pierces mine. Let me have the confidence to move in the knowledge of you. And today I embrace my feminine energy, all that I am. I embrace Ekureche, all that is feminine about me, all that is love about me. May I be kind and considerate of my fellow human beings. Let me not demand anybody to believe anything I believe in. Let me show by example. And if anybody chooses to walk my way, I will hold their hands and walk along with them. If not, it's okay. Teach me to understand that it is okay, so that I will stay in the straight and narrow. Ihe niile si n'ọnụ mpụta Chineke ana m arịọ ka ọ bụrụ ihe otu a ka o si dị site ugbu a ruo mgbe niile ebighị ebi. Ise, ise, and so it is. Dibia Yudi.
Kao.
Ise o.
Oh, Ise, Yagazie, and the likes of it. So this is a deep topic we're embarking on today. Very complex, actually, but simple. You know, it's just a question of your mindset. You have to have an open mind. You have to understand the how you say, the detriment of thinking that one religion is better than the other one, without a clear understanding of the etymology of religion and the difference between this etymology and philosophies. So we will try to deal with that today and bring people closer to the truth the best that we possibly can.
Yes. Yes. It is so important. And, you know, I started this Dibia by saying that I think that religions owe the world an apology. Before I can believe in you, you have to apologize. Christianity owes the world an apology. Islam owes the world an apology. All religions that have in their history atrocities committed in their name owe the world an apology, because you can't keep acting like nothing happened. You can't, when you wonder why some of these religions, their numbers are dwindling, it is because people know the truth. Truth must be the first order of things. Ever since first religions were organized, there have been fights between followers. These struggles have devolved into global scene that have taken the lives of millions. And yet it is these very religions who have committed all of these crimes that want us to believe that they know how we can get to God, which God led them to commit these atrocities. And why should we expect the world to continue to ride this train and expect it to take us where we need to be? And where do we need to be? Love. Love is the highest religion. We need to show love to our fellow man, but you've got to apologize for what you did before we can take you seriously. First of all, we have to start with telling the truth. There's some truth that we haven't told. We started with a lot of lies. A lot of these religions, they start with a lot of lies and they hold on to these lies. I just want to show you, Dibia, what I mean. I want you to look at this. Truth is the first step. Tell the truth first. Then you can offer apology. The biggest lie that has been told humanity is creation. Now, every religion has its own fables, if I may call it that. It's okay. But at some point, if that story that you're telling is the reason why there's so much confusion in the world, retell it. At least tell the truth about it. Now, I want you to look at the picture of, can you see that?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, the picture of Adam and Eve. We're supposed to believe that Adam and Eve were the first humans. Okay, now it could be the story in the Bible to let some people know at least that concept, that idea of creation. But you can't fight me if I say that there's something wrong with what you believe in, as far as this is the only way that we can explain how life came. It may be yours, because I can contradict a lot of things in there. Let's take, for instance, if you look at a lot of the pictures of Adam and Eve, it shows Adam with a navel, and it shows Eve with a navel. Now, if Eve came from Adam's ribs, why does she have a navel?
Thank you.
Now, I just want us to think, so that we don't get all bent out of shape when we challenge you.
The question is,
we want you to think.
I like that, because next time somebody tells me about Adam and Eve, my first question to them is going to be, did Adam have a navel?
Because now, okay, so the argument could be that these are just representation. But if you look at that representation, it tells you what man and woman understand to be reality. So when they paint these pictures, they understand that a man was born of woman and a woman is born of woman. Thus the navel. So if there's a navel, then the God you're talking about is female.
Yep.
Because that's where Adam came. Now, why would God create Adam and then decide to create the Eve from Adam's ribs? She can't go beyond just one human.
Can't have it both ways.
You cannot. In other words, think about the story you're telling. I mean, it may work for you. It's confusion. It may work for you because everybody has their own interpretation of how life began. But if I challenge you, don't get upset. Don't use that reason to kill people.
Yeah.
To convince people that this is the truth. If the truth had some falsities in it, correct it. Be bold enough to say, okay, we made a mistake here. All right? Because if you go to the Bible, you will find that some of these pictures that does show that Adam does have a navel. So that's one confusion. And then what created all the havoc in the world is the apple. Adam ate the apple that God said not to eat. What changed since then, now that the apple has a lot of health benefits? Now, it wasn't good to eat then, but now it prevents Alzheimer's disease. It decreases the risk of diabetes. It protects against cancer. It boosts immune system. It offers whiter, healthier teeth. Let's see what else. It's great for radiant skin, protects the heart, reduces risk of asthma, reduces bad cholesterol and high blood pressure, improves weight loss, good for bones and brain, treats anemia, solves respiratory issues. Why in the world would God not want them to eat that? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And in the Bible, it said, God said, let us make man in our image. Did God have a navel? And what does this say about God's creation? I'm talking about the confusion that's causing all of this havoc towards humanity. My way or the highway. You need to think about what you're saying. Even though every religion has their own interpretation of how life began. But there is no exclusive truth. And it's because of this fight for exclusivity, that is why we have all these horrific historical data on what religion has done. Then let us go to the concept of hell. People are told you will go to hell if you don't believe in some of these concepts. What is hell? Where Satan is, and where people who do not believe in Christ end up. But this is where people burn for eternity. What kind of God is that? Have you ever
Biblical
burned the tip of your finger? Have you ever burned the tip of your finger? It hurts like heck. Can you imagine your whole body because you didn't believe in Christ? Burning for eternity. That is not my story. That is your story. Believe in your story. If it's different from mine, don't use it as a reason to kill me or to kill millions of people. Telling the truth is the first step. If you want people to now, like I said, the numbers are dwindling. These religions are losing. And as a matter of fact, the people that are being lost, they're not necessarily going into other religions. What they're doing is they are now going to becoming atheists, just not even believing in any religion at all because of some of these things that religion has done. So I say, before we can convince anyone, hello, Dr. Monet, welcome.
Hello.
How are you, doctor?
Hello.
Dr. Monet is joining us. She's not feeling very well, but she's going to listen. And when she feels like she has something she wants to say,
feel better.
She's very welcome to say it. You see, so truth is the first thing. Tell the truth first. Before I can believe you, tell me the truth. Now, when we look at some of the atrocities committed in the name of religion, I want Dibias, I want you to talk about one of those big atrocities attributed to religion, and that is the Crusades. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, Crusades, jihad, they're pretty much one and the same. This belief that you're fighting for a God that is too weak to fight for him or herself, right? How contradictory is that? God that has the power to create humans, the earth, the skies, the universe, every living thing, non-living, rocks, everything, whether it's living or non-living, it's all a possibility because of the power of the creator. Then at the same time, this creator is not powerful enough to fight for itself. And now you feel that you have the duty to fight for this very weak God. Now, the Crusade is just one of those tragedies of in human history. It's really very tragic. There were over, I can't even count how many crusades there were, but I know it's in the upwards of 9, 10, 11, or 12. But there were two major crusades. One dealt with Jerusalem, where Europe, the center of Christendom, felt that they needed to go and, relinquish Jerusalem from the Muslims and then bring it back to the Christian fold, and then control this supposed cradle of where their Messiah was born, Jesus Christ, right? Born in Nazareth, and everything else happened in Jerusalem. Now, the tragedy started way before that. It started really, at least in my opinion, and from what knowledge I have of history, it started in 380 AD when the Catholic Church became the official religion of the Roman Empire. Of course, this process started from the Nicene Council of 325 AD and culminated in 380 AD. After Constantine had passed, of course, during the Nicene Council, the modern, edicts of Christianism, became established, and through the two sons of Constantine back in 340, 360 AD, and then culminating in 380 AD after a series of other Roman Empire emperors. In 380 AD, Catholic Church became the official religion of the Roman Empire. And at that particular time, I think it was Pope Gregory the seventh was the Pope at that time. And he wrote a papal bull, and in this papal bull instructed that the Catholic Church now authorizes its followers to take the title of Catholic Christians. And as for the others, they shall be branded heretics. They will suffer the punishment of our authority, of which we shall inflict. Now, let me say this again. This whole issue of Christian domination and the subsequent pillaging and murders of millions of people started in 380 AD, when Pope Gregory VII opined and wrote his bull authorizing followers of Catholicism to be known as Catholic Christians, and everybody else, regardless of what Christian faith you come from, or Christian school or denomination you belong to, you're a heretic. So the word heretic was just not for anybody who was not a Christian. No, it was for people that were not Catholic Christians. And because you're not a Catholic Christian, you are now a heretic. You are branded a heretic, and you will now suffer the punishment of the authority of the Catholic Church. And that punishment they will inflict. It was also at this time that the Pope became infallible. No one can judge the Pope but God. It was also at this time that, what do you call it? The Catholic Church decided that they are the only authority in Christendom. They also decided, Pope Gregory VII decided also that only the Catholic Church, only the Pope has the right to recognize a king in Europe, and also has the right to depose any king in Europe. So this catastrophe that we've seen over the years up until today started in 380 AD. We ended up with the First Crusade in 1099 in Jerusalem, when they decided that they were going to take it away from the Muslims and establish the Catholic Church in Jerusalem. Now, keep in mind that at the time, just going back a little bit, at the time in 380 AD, Islam hadn't been founded yet. 380 AD, 380 years after the supposed birth of Christ, that was when the Catholic Church was granted to function as a corporation and became the official religion of the Roman Empire. Islam was not in existence at that time until 600 years after the death of Christ, before the establishment of the birthing of Muhammad. This idea of exclusive truth, my way or the highway, established by the Catholic Church in 380 AD, also filtered into Islam, filtered into the idea of jihadi, holy war. By the way, you know, it really means struggling or striving, especially with, you know, personal, how do you say, spiritual fight to correct one's behavior and one's self. That's really what jihad, actually, the etymology of it, that's what it really means. Social and personal conformity to the supposed character of the Almighty God and the expectations of Chineke. That's what jihad in its etymology means, but then it evolved into this holy war, which actually started when Muhammad died. And there was a schism in Islam that eventually created the Sunni and the Shiite, right? The Shiites belonged to the grandnephew or nephew of Muhammad, while the caliphate at that time, who the leader at that time, who was a personal friend of Muhammad, claimed that he was the rightful heir to Islam, while the people in the East claimed that Muhammad's nephew was Hussein. So they went to war. Hussein Muhammad at that time had 72 bodyguards.
Okay, now we're gonna be going into the jihad in a moment, because you're very right.
I'm getting back to the crusade. Actually, I was trying to make a point, but
okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just trying to make a point. I was trying to make a point based on inclusive truth and ignorance of people. But when we talk about jihad, I'll go into a little bit more detail. But needless to say, the idea of the crusade, which there were so many crusades, was the idea that if you are not a Catholic Christian, you are a heretic. And one of the major crusades, apart from all the different crusades that were fought, there were over 9, 10, 11, 12 of them. There were so many of them, I can't even count it. It's almost like half the kings of Europe and then, half the popes in Europe decided on one crusade or another against control of Jerusalem. Saladin came, got rid of the Knights Templars and all that stuff in Jerusalem. And then, of course, there was another crusade to remove the Muslims. And of course, a lot of bloodshed, what have you. In 1291 AD, there was another major crusade that people didn't know about, and that was crusade against Christians in Europe, particularly the Cathars of France. They murdered millions, about 1.5 million, almost 2 million French people, Cathars, in the name of Christ, specifically in the name of the Catholic Church. So religious wars happens, there are so many other religions that went to wars, but none of them happened because of trying to convert people from their primordial faith to the Catholic faith or to Islam. This is the exclusive truth that is preached by Abrahamic religions, particularly Christianism and Islam, rumpling social harmony. Whenever you have a group of people with their spiritual philosophy that claim exclusive truth, that claim that they are fighting for the almighty Chineke, trust me, it's going to result in nothing but bloodshed. You see it right now in Africa, in East Africa, in Sudan, Christians against Muslims, Muslims against Christians, South Sudan, North Sudan is going on in Nigeria right now with Boko Haram demanding their own caliphate against other Muslims and Christians too. It's going on in the Middle East. The good, the bad, and the ugly, everybody claiming that they are fighting for the almighty Chineke, while those people that are really spiritually healthy bear the brunt of this savagery.
Yeah, you're so right. And it's so important that people understand what we're saying here. The original concept of Christianity, even if, well, it's loaded with confusion, okay? And I'm not just going to pick on Christianity. As we move forward, there are other religions involved here. But the bottom line, however, is that it started as a need for expansion, all right? The Western culture wanted to expand, all right? So it had nothing to do with, the love of God and, let's introduce you to God. No, it has not. It's expansion. Let me ask Dibias Dozie, can you hear us? And let's see if we can hear you now. Oh gosh.
Oh, he's still having a problem.
We still can't hear you.
His network. It has to be a network issue.
It must be your network.
Yeah.
It must be network.
He's not muted. You didn't mute him, did you?
I didn't mute him. He's not muted. Keep trying. Yeah. We'll keep you on there. We'll keep trying. Let me ask Dr. Monet. I know you're not feeling very well, but I'm sure you have some thoughts you may want to sneak in here just to the best of your ability. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, it's just like, I was watching, I was watching something on how pimps kind of bring in the women, the traffickers, bring in the women to be trafficked. And that's a form of slavery. And it appears that the Catholic Church did something similar to that. So it's almost like, they brought in Catholicism, and Catholicism appeared to be, like Uncle Yudi was saying, they've made it a religion that, where they are the only truth, and any other truth will be destroyed, and any other people that are not following that will be destroyed. But in talking about kind of comparing it to the trafficking, because Catholicism and slavery of our people, when I think about Catholicism, I think about this enslavement of Africans and those of the diaspora. And so when we're talking about the enslavement of our people is tied to Catholicism. So getting the world, because Catholics has gone around the world and has what they call missions, and then whatever, killings or whatever they had to do in order for people to fall in line. That's what they did. But have a lot of our people and a lot of people of the diaspora has bought into the concept, including my family. I have my mother's side of the family were Catholics, believing, in these type of, taking on their belief system. But in that, it kind of led up to where we're at now as a people, and in the enslavement of Black people, and not only the physical enslavement, but also the enslavement of the mind. So it started, so that just tells you how it started. The one believing in that one, they say God, but it's really having to believe in their belief system, their religion, their ways, so God is in representation of the Pope and all that,
yes,
their religious structure. And so with having that prepared us, and we're still in it now, of looking up to what I call the white hope. I usually call it the white hope for many of African and African Americans, and we're still looking to that. And if anything outside of that, we don't want to be a part of, even when it's having to do with our own people and us working together cooperatively, so that whole concept has really caused a lot of destruction, and is what is keeping us where we are at, enslaved in the minds of our people, and it's hard to get out of that. We have, more than anyone, I notice, we have the concept, because we may not physically kill a person because they don't believe the way we do, but a lot of times, especially when you're talking about Christianity, a lot of times it's either the way we believe, and even outside of Catholicism, because a lot of African Americans are, into, are Protestants, but it's either the way I believe, and everything else is evil, or everything else should be destroyed. So we have inherited that concept from that, everything that happened with the Catholics. And we have a low tolerance for any other religions that are outside of that, or belief systems, even if it is another denomination, because we never talk about the Protestants against the Protestants, or the Catholics against the Protestants, or the Catholics against the Catholics, depending on what way they believe, and just not having any tolerance. And you only see that, like Uncle Yudi was saying, you see that in Islam, you'll see that in Islam, but more so because I think, with me living in America, I've never lived outside of America. I come from more of a Christian, mindset of it. It's just the intolerance. Why do we have such intolerance for any belief system that is outside of that? I had a family member just discuss with me that, well, my way, that's a Christian, my way is the right way, and anything outside of that is not the truth. That's what he told me, that anything outside of his Christian belief is just simply not the truth. And so we are enslaved. That the Catholicism and everything, all that history has caused us to inherit that within ourselves, and we're destroying ourselves as a people because of that. And it's rooted in the way, in the history of the Catholic Church. So we must get outside of that. We must recognize, in panels like this, we must recognize what has happened to us mentally and generationally. This has happened, you know, so we must get outside of that. We must start to be more tolerant of other religions, and being more tolerant a lot of times is also educating yourself. I know when I was in the church, one thing they didn't want you to do is educate yourself on other belief systems, other religions. Just believe it as I say, and that's it. The Bible is the truth. And it's, you know, it's the only truth. They would say that it's the only truth. The Bible is the truth, and it's the only truth, which that is not true. Look, educate yourself. Make sure that you're educating yourself. Make sure that you're learning about other belief systems, because there's commonalities to these other belief systems. Learn about where the God and the belief systems of your ancestors, and don't be in denial. You know,
and don't be embarrassed. Don't be ashamed. You know, don't be ashamed to embrace it. Thank you so much, Dr. Monet. When we start talking about these kinds of things, people get offended. The people who are living a lie, they are living in this lie, and they don't want to shake. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna be honest, Christianity and Islam are the only religions on this earth that has and is still causing atrocities. Do you remember? They're still doing it. You got religions that will see children being killed in school, and it doesn't move you to ban weapons. Who are you? What God do you believe in? You feel that you're so right that it doesn't matter the atrocities that you put behind, that you stand behind. The people will continue to embrace you. That's why these religions are dropping. Now, I've got to be honest. Since the Crusades, the Christianity has tried to make amends, in the sense that some of those they've introducing, you know, love your neighbor, you know, peaceful coexistence and all that stuff. But when the push comes to shove, they revert back to the old ways, my way or the highway. You know, they are, to be fair, they are those who are trying. But collectively, that's why I say you've got to apologize. When you apologize, you are understanding that something I did was wrong, and that I don't want to repeat it. If you don't apologize and you just want to just kind of do something different, it doesn't take away what you've done. It doesn't take away the fact that you're saying that you're not cognizant that those atrocities were horrific, and you should apologize for it. You should. Christianity and Islam need to apologize. Yes, I said it. They need to apologize, not because the people who are practicing it necessarily today are bad people. No, but your ancestors did some horrific things. Stand up and say it's horrific. We apologize for it. Tell the world that it wouldn't happen again. You know, because these two religions, they preach peace, hold their religious text in one hand, you know, but they have a weapon on the other hand. So we are practicing, we're not practicing what we preach.
I'll also say that we as a people have to understand that where we come from is not evil. That is what has been told to us through Islam and through Christianity, that African spirituality is evil. That is something that we must protect, because any other culture, no matter if Catholicism has come and they're usually Catholics and they're still practicing their spirituality, and it's not looked at as evil. We have to get out of that we are evil, that our ancestors, that came here are evil. I even heard Black people say in the past that the reason why African Americans were in slavery because of their religious practices. So we have to get out of thinking and tolerating, not only that, tolerating other people saying that what we practice is evil. I was just, even in the spiritual circles, you'll have some Europeans, and I encountered this a couple times. Now, they have all types of spirituality that they practice that is European. The Wiccan, the witches, all of these different things that they don't feel is evil, but soon as you say voodoo, soon as you say any African spirituality, then they will, that's so evil. That's evil, that's evil, that's evil. We need to, and I stand up for our people. We need to stand up and hold sacred what we have. Why does it have to be evil? We have to get away from that, and we shouldn't tolerate it, even in the church, in the mosque, or anywhere else. If that's what you're practicing, we have to still protect where we are from.
And you have to, before you look down on yourself, ask the people, the culture you're trying to embrace, ask how good compared to yours, how good are they? We Africans, we don't force people to become members of our spirituality. All right, it's through initiation. We don't force you, we don't kill you for it. You cannot go into African history and see where people were killed to get them to become any part of a particular religious sect. As a matter of fact, in my community, a person will go into your shrine and swear by your Arunsi. They have no fear. And they believe that where you are, the God that serves them is there too. So they don't fight over there. You got the Inquisition. You got this Crusades. You have the Inquisition, the Spanish Inquisition. That was bad. I mean, you can go on and on and on. I say, unless you apologize for what was done in your name, whether you believe it or not, the point of the matter is it's part of history. You cannot be preaching to people about Chineke. You can't. And that is why, again, I keep saying it, the numbers are dropping. People are becoming wiser, and people are reading and saying, my goodness, they did all these things in the name of my religion. Now let's go to jihad. Dibia Yudi had kind of veered towards jihad, but let's talk about the jihad. The jihad was just as bad, because that was Islam, So let's talk about the jihad.
Yeah, before we talk about this jihad, I want to just touch on a few things that you guys had brought up, and I think it needs to be addressed, actually. In 2000, Pope John Paul apologized for the Inquisition, apologized for all the sins that the church did, the Crusades, everything. He apologized for it. The Pope did. Then then the subsequent popes, like Pope Francis, started apologizing for some of the atrocities that different dioceses committed against children, child molestation and child rape and all that, the stuff that happened to indigenous children in Canada. They've apologized. The problem is not the apology of the church. The problem is the business and political nature of all these different denominations that serve political parties.
Yes.
It is the power structure. It is the money that is involved. It is trying to keep you in your ignorance so that you could part ways with your 10% every month to make the preacher rich, to make the church rich, paying your tithes, having people like Creflo Dollar wanting a $60-something million private jet plane, talking about if he wasn't against the law, that he would execute anybody that comes to his church and didn't pay tithes. This is what you're dealing with now. You're not dealing with the general institutional structure of the Catholic Church. You're dealing with all these different fragments, serving individuals in all these different communities, enriching themselves, supporting political parties, and having politicians put into law what these religious and business institutions want them to put into law to control the masses because they need the money for political campaigns. This is a criminal, it's not about religion anymore. This is mafioso. This is a criminal enterprise. Christianity, yes, I said it. Christianity as an organization is a criminal enterprise. You have churches where you have to put in your tax code, your credit card number, your bank account number, so that they could siphon off funds from your bank account every month. And what do you get in exchange? Your soul is saved. You're going to heaven. You're not going to go to hell. No matter what sins you commit, as long as you're committed to the church and you're paying your tithes, your sins are all forgiven. You can forgive anybody's sin just like that, no matter what they did. All you have to do is accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, and that's it. That's all you have to do. So yes, the church has apologized, but right now we're dealing with this different mafioso Christian families and Muslim families, like the Gambinos and the Lucchese family and the Boneno family of the mafia. That's what you have. Every church controls the people in their neighborhoods. If you go to the church and ask for help, they tell you you need to go to the church where in your neighborhood where you give your tithes to. When the preacher needs something, he comes to the congregation for it. But when the congregation needs something and you go to the preacher, what do they tell you? I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do about it. These churches are not just in America. Go to Nigeria. Every other house, when you can't get a job, you open up a church and start siphoning 10% from your neighborhood. It's a criminal organization. Yes, I said it. Christianism is now wrought with little criminal organizations that are in it for two things: political power and economic power. And that economic power comes from the ignorant people that have been from birth groomed to believe in the nonsense and believe in the exclusive truth, to the point where they dedicate 10% of their income, even if they can't pay their light bill, they dedicate 10% of their income to this church, enriching all these preachers who contribute to political parties and political systems for nobody else's good but their own. It's going on in the United States, in Europe, and Lord, is it going on in Africa or what? I just want to point that out.
Okay, before you talk about the jihad, I think that let's give Dr. Chidozie an opportunity. Let's see if he's connected now.
All right.
No, yes, we can hear you now. You cannot low.
Now. Not very loud.
Raise the volume. Raise the volume.
Right. Turn the volume up.
Well, let me try and raise the volume, like you said.
All right, much better.
Yeah, actually, I'm using two devices, my phone and this computer.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so my view on this, it's exactly what we've been saying before. Meanwhile, I just have to give thumbs up to Gideon Ochoaja. You're always on point. And
thank you, sir.
Sister Monet, always on point. My little take on this is simple. The whole problem started when Akhenaton actually departed from spirituality and created religion. And to make that religion to fructify, he had to impose it on the people. And the religion was formed basically for political, economic reasons. And since then, that has been the purpose of religion. Since then, every civilization that had to come have to form a new religion just for political, economic control. Now, by the time Protestantism rose against Catholicism, then the avenue for exploitation expanded, because prior to that time, it was basically Christianity and later Islam. These were the two main exploitative religions. But by the time schisms happened within these two religions, the means or avenues of exploitation also expanded. And that is what we have. But the problem with Christianity is that the Christian Europe attained the age of capitalism. From capitalism went through phases, and we are at the age of neoliberalism, which you call globalization, and they call it the age of knowledge economy. And so, and the knowledge economy is that you have to open up your country, you have to democratically, religiously, everything is done. So it's not just religion they are propagating. America says it's their right to propagate democracy. So whether you like it or not, you just have to take democracy. It's part of liberalization. Because if you take the democracy, once you take the democracy, you have to take the economic system. Once you take the economic system, you have to take the religious system. Everything is being liberalized. And all of these avenues, whether it is Christianity, democracy, liberal economy, are being used to propagate those conducts that ensure that you devalue your culture, like same-sex marriage, transgender, transhumanism, nanotechnology. Those things you do not need. They pat it on you. They impose it on you. Right? And so that is exactly what has religion is all about. Whether you like it, take it. Because what Akhenaten simply did was that, yeah, for me to harmonize the whole of Egyptian empire, create a god for them. And so he did that, and when he went ahead, making sure he broke down all temples where Athens was not worshipped, what governed the mighty Roman Empire on the religion of Isis. So I also reform it. And of course, the other time, Dibia Ochaja told us the history of what happened at the conference when Ares had to run for his life. The concept of hell was deliberately enshrined in the Bible to instill fear on the believers that if you do not believe in the new religion, the God will send it to hell. And of course, there was the inferno of hell built, I think, one of Gehenna of fire. People were punished. So this was to ensure that people's psyche is messed up. They take to the new religion. And of course, spirituality is about self-realization. Religion is about dogma. Just give the people the capsule. If you obey, you're a good boy, a good girl. If you disobey, you go to hell. So hell is not the original doctrine of the Bible. What was there was reincarnation. But Constantine had to bring in hell, and as of the time Mohammedanism came on board, Catholicism had taken root, and so the propagators of Islam also saw hell as a tool to be used in propagating Islam. And so these two religions deliberately brought hell. It's a human creation. And that's when I attained that realization. Why must this God of Christians and Muslims like to punish offenders for eternity? What joy? And is a God of love. Is love by excellence. So what joy does he derive? So that for me, the Christian God and the Islamic God became a God that is vain, callous, and wicked. I prefer my own God that says, if you fail a class, you repeat. Not the one that keeps patching you up and is awaiting you with eternal hell, eternal punishment, and is keep patching up your sins for you. And that's why movements within Christianity like the Jehovah's Witness, who know the truth, don't believe in hell. And there are other things in Christianity, pagan practice. And so for me, my little take in all of this is that it is the nomenclature of the Abrahamic religion, particularly those ones that want to conquer the world through politicization, preaching, encroaching on other people's spirituality. It is the easiest way of controlling people. The Jews, maybe they didn't buy into this because they themselves were victims of the harassment, intimidation, and persecution of Christendom, because they were asked to abandon their culture and hop on the new culture, so they refused. I think Moses Maimonides was one of those who revolted against that in Europe. I think it was in Spain, Madrid, in 1492 or 1592? I can't quite remember. And there was a conspiracy to wipe out the Jews from Palestine. And of course, anywhere they went with their documents and kept teaching their children their faith and their belief. And like Moses Maimonides said, they owe it the truth. They owe it as a duty to teach unborn generations of Jews the truth of what they inherited from their forefathers. And until their dying days, they will refuse to propagate the lies concocted by Christendom in their own very eyes. That became a point of persecution for Jews. Maybe perhaps because of that, the Jews did not partake in this kind of on people's spirituality. However, if you do read the Bible, you will see that that is the nomenclature, that is the culture of the Semites and the Caucasians. Wherever you are conquered, you are totally conquered. The temple, the mosque, the church, and whatever does not belong within their purview is regarded as a bad, evil. So they try to eradicate it and convert the others to their own belief system. It is their nomenclature. It's part of their religion, part of their spirituality to dominate. And that is why they always look at everything from a mono point of view. So I like to stop there for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to ask you, Yudi, because
Yeah,
I want us to talk about
the jihad.
The jihad. But
Yeah.
even though we have all those atrocities that happened then, can we really say that Islam has changed since then? Has it really? And what do I mean by that? If you look at some of the things that are going on in Nigeria, for instance, maybe it's not called jihad, it's called terrorism, but it also involves mass killings. Has it really changed? There's something going on right now in Afghanistan. Some of the people, if it dates back to 2021, just recently, when people left Afghanistan and went to Iran, and the Iranians were killing them and burning them, the refugees, and now they're just killing in the name of Islam. They're killing their own people to keep them in line and understand the authority of the caliphate or whatever, you know. So my question is, how has it changed, if it has changed at all? Now, to be fair, I have individuals who are Muslim that are some of the finest people that I know. So is it fair to say that jihad is a Muslim event, or is it something that was initiated by some, but it's not necessarily embraced by all? Do you understand what I'm asking you?
Yeah, I understand what you're asking. It's very, very legitimate, question, and requires close examination between the individuals and the institutions established in the name of this religious philosophy. There's a distinction, and this distinction can be found in every world religion. Okay, thou shalt not lie, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not kill, blah 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 blah. Every religion practices those commandments, so there's nothing Islamic, Christian, Buddhist, whatever about it. It's just part of human moral tenets. Therefore, adherents of Islam on that level are genuinely good people. But there's a difference between the genuinely good people and their numbers and the power that the genuinely good people have in comparison to the power that the institution itself has and how it controls the life of the good ones. You understand? The idea of jihad on the surface in its etymology is a spiritual struggle within one's self against sin. That is the meaning of jihad. It's a struggle against doing something bad. It's a struggle between trying to keep these commandments that promotes spiritual relationship with you, the creator, and your fellow human being. Humans are part of nature. So living in peace with your fellow human being is living in peace with nature, is respecting nature, just as much as you respect the air you breathe, the water you drink, the land that you toil, all those life-sustaining forces. Humans are part of this life-sustaining forces. A human being without other humans to talk to will die. You are devoid of any relationship. Therefore, those commandments mean nothing. But because you have those commandments, jihad becomes a part of who you are spiritually, because it is a spiritual struggle within oneself against sin, against obeying these commandments. So you could call it jihad. You could call it a state of Amarachi. You could call it a state of Buddha. You could call it what you want. In its etymology, that's what it is. But then it has evolved into three facets once the institutions were established and once power and money and the control of, are you ready for this? Women came into being. Do not minimize the importance of controlling the woman in all these Abrahamic religions. In Judaism, the reason why man sinned is because woman didn't listen to man and didn't listen to God. Adam ate the fruit because Eve gave him the fruit. So he sinned, and once he ate the fruit, he now realized that he was naked. Now imagine what would happen if they didn't eat the fruit. We'll be having this conversation right now naked, but we wouldn't know we're naked. But anyway, that's just a joke. Ruth. What's his name? Samson. Delilah cut his hair and he lost his strength. Lot's wife looked back when they were instructed not to look back. Who looked back? The woman did. The fall of man in the Old Testament has almost always been because of woman. So don't minimize the control of women by Abrahamic religions. It's part of their doctrine to control you. That's why today you see women in Islam with the hijab and all this stuff, and some of them all in black. You can't even see them. It doesn't say that in the Quran, but these institutions that were established to minimize the importance of woman and keep you subservient to man is part of the doctrine. So jihad now has, what do you call it, evolved into building a good Muslim society. It has gone from personal spiritual struggle between good and evil, between good and sinning, between living a spiritual life, to now having a strong society that is grounded on Islamic institutions. That's phase number 2. Then phase number 3 of the jihad is a holy war, a struggle to defend the institutions, to defend Islam with force if necessary. And don't separate that from the Crusades. It's one and the same. It's just called something different. What do you think the crusade is all about? It's to win territory for the Lord and establish Christianism beyond the borders of Europe. Claiming that Jerusalem belongs to the Christians because of Jesus Christ, because of Judaism, which, by the way, both Islam and Christianity are children of Judaism, the Abrahamic religions. They all believe that Jesus and Muhammad are descendants of Abraham. Jesus being, according to Islam, a prophet, a messenger of God, and Muhammad being the last messenger of God. But they don't believe that, Islam does not believe that Jesus is the Son of God. They believe in Jesus as a messenger, and Muhammad the last messenger. So jihad and the crusades and the inquisitions and one are the same, because they were all trying to achieve the same goal. Total conformity, not to the individual, but to the institution and the Pope, the Ayatollahs, the leaders of these institutions that control your purse, control your behavior, control the women, and keep you in line so that they could build this Muslim society that is steeped on Islamic laws, and then go out there, number one, with the excuse of defending Islam, but then taking territory, just like Christianism, Catholic Church did. It's one and the same. So when you talk about jihad, it's the same thing. The only difference is that the Inquisition and the Crusades, as we know it through history, is minimized today because they are all established. And some people that don't see the church practicing what they preach, as Dibia mentioned earlier, are now leaving the church and either don't believe in God, period, or are spiritual people as opposed to godly people, just don't go to church and just don't adhere to anything that they're told to do in the Bible, because they don't see the church practicing what they're preaching. They see the molestation of children. They see the preacher going after people's wives and daughters. They see people being killed in the name of Jesus, people being excommunicated, people being intolerant of other human beings just because they are not Christians. So they leave that. Same thing with Islam, except Islam right now is behaving the way the Christian church behaved, 1,000 years ago. They still haven't gotten over it. They're still very conservative. They still want to win territories. You look at ISIS, the war that went on in the Middle East with ISIS in Turkey, in Syria, and what have you. ISIS claiming territory. That was jihad. That was holy war. That was struggle to defend in Islam and claim territory and establish their own caliphate. Boko Haram in Nigeria doing the same thing. Go to South Sudan, North Sudan, South Sudan, the conflict that is going on over there, the destruction of the Somalian economy because of Islam. Now, the biggest economy of the Somalians is what? Piracy. They have no economy at all. They have to become bandits, go back and start living the way what do you call it? Long John Silver back in the 16th and 14th century, and all those pirates that pillaged the Caribbean. That's the kind of lifestyle you have over there now. So Islam is still holding on to its conservative idea of holy war, struggle to defend Islam. There are a lot of people, like you mentioned, Dibia, that are great Muslims. They are good Christians. They believe in the personal jihad or the personal crusade against evil and making sure that their conduct is in line with what they are preaching. Be good to one another, love one another as you love yourself, blah, 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 blah. All religions practice that, or at least believe that. So the 10 commandments or 130 commandments that you have from the Egyptian Book of the Dead, it is not exclusive to any specific religion, because there's no religion, there's no culture, there's no civilization that says thou shalt lie. It doesn't exist. It has never existed. It doesn't exist now, and it's not going to exist in the future. There's no civilization that says thou shalt kill. It doesn't exist. It didn't exist before, doesn't exist now, it doesn't exist in the future, even though people are killing. So the idea of jihad has morphed from a personal struggle between your conduct, the way you to live up to these commandments, and your personal conduct. That's the main idea behind the jihad. Is now morphed into this holy war that is political, like you see in Iran. Even though they have a presidency, they have a political system, but on top of that political system is the Ayatollah, even though they have a president. But the spiritual and religious laws ingrained in their political system to control the population, because they want to hold on to power, even if they're not expansionists in terms of gaining territory, but politically, they want to influence the Middle East. They want to influence what goes on in Saudi Arabia, what goes on in Qatar, what goes on in Jordan. They want to influence what goes on in Iraq, who is their neighbor. So they may not be controlling territory in terms of putting soldiers on the ground, but they want to control territory politically, assassinations in other people's affairs, and so on and so forth. So there are three jihads, as I mentioned. One is internal struggle to live the Muslim faith as much as good as or great as possible as you possibly can, to build a Muslim society, and the last one, holy war, to defend Islam and also to take territory by force. That's where we are right now. That's what's ruining social harmony. And how we deal with that, I can't really tell you, other than having this kind of forum that we have right now, creating institutions that are able to talk about these things so that the masses can see and make informed choices in the hopes of bringing peace amongst all humans.
And you, thank you so much. You cannot have. I started this program by insisting that we must apologize to humanity. Okay, if the whole idea of religion is to bring us close to divine mind, to bring us close to Holy Spirit, then all of these wars, all of these cruelty, all these wickedness, we have to acknowledge that they existed, so that see, history repeats itself. If you don't acknowledge it, you can adjust. Okay, I want to share as this Dr. Monet, in the Quran, all right, it does, there's an effort, right, to encourage people to live peacefully. There's one side of it that says, we should respect each other's religions and beliefs and be kind to them to bring them closer to you and Islam. But then the same Quran, it then later on says, do not be friends with Christians or Jews. Don't take Jews or Christians for friends. If you do, then Allah will consider you to be one of them. And then the same Quran, it says, kill the non-believers wherever you find them. How does this square with loving each other, with embracing and being tolerant? How does that square? I mean, if a Muslim reads that on a regular basis, how does it square with them? How do they get out of that? I read some of these things and I feel, my God, the confusion, the frustration. I mean, there are good people in every religion. They are good people. They want to do the right thing. But then they have these books that they are supposed to read that supposedly are the word of God. And then that creates so much turmoil in your mind. And instead of you doing the right thing, the fear of the consequences doing the right thing. In fact, there are consequences for doing the right thing. Not consequences for doing the wrong things. Thoughts on that?
So, it's very bipolar and it is very confusing, So, I mean, and people can use, I think it leaves it open. So if you want to do the wrong thing, you're right with God. And if you want to do the right thing, you're right with God. So it leaves it open, for, and unfortunately, the destruction, the hatred, the all of these things. It leaves all of that open to some people's side. There's Muslims that side with, okay, you're going to be kind to people that are not Muslims, and all of the positive things that the Quran talks about, living in peace and things like that. Then you have that other side of people who, are going to the other side, the negative side. So this is, it leaves room for people to really do what they want to do. And also with Christianity, you can't, because Christians will talk about Muslims and Muslims will talk about Christians and things like that. But they don't understand how close, they're still Abrahamic religions. They're very close in their belief systems. But one thing that they will say, Christianity, they say the same thing, but indirectly. When you read the Bible and it tells you to kill all of the children, all of the mothers, all of the everyone and go and take over the land. That's not telling you, okay, you can do this now, but it is indirectly telling you, well, if it is God telling you to do this, then you can go and do this. And so a lot of Christians, you know, especially in some of these evangelical circles or the charismatic Christians, or, you know, they will take that as, this is what I can do. I can go and kill. I can do the same thing that are in these stories. So it's indirect in the Bible, but the Quran just is direct about it. And it's very bipolar, because then the Bible also tells you, okay, you're supposed to, all of those 10 commandments, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, and all of these other commandments that they have. But then it also, on the other hand, if God tells you, which a lot of Christians in some of these churches will say, well, God told me to do this. And so as long as God is telling you to do this, you can go out and steal. You can go, I'm not steal. You can go out and, well, stealing still, if you go and take someone's land, that's still stealing their land. You know, you can go out and, you know, do all of these things, kill all of the children that are not Christians, or, you know, these people don't matter to God, you know, the children, the mothers, everyone, and take everything that they worked hard for, you know. So, you know, that's the thing that, and I know as growing up as a Christian, it confused me. It really confused me, because you're saying, well, you say God is love. You know, the church would say God is love, but then you're reading all of these stories that God is commanding people to go in and kill and do all of these atrocities to other people. So it creates confusion. But the main thing, I know I was researching this week, there was a healer that I came across, and his name was Bruno Groening. And he was from Germany. And he did not go, like, he would have these big meetings and people would get healed and things like that, but he did not subscribe to just one religion. So he would say, you know, whatever religion you are, stay whatever you are, but I'm going to tell you about God, and God is love. And he would speak the love of God opposed to speaking about religion. And he has all of these, even though he has passed, he was out, I think it was in the 50s or something like that. They put him in jail for all of the healing and everything that he was doing. He was affecting the medical system. But they still have this, what they call the Bruno Growing Circle of Friends. And they're all over the world, all different religions. And that to me is a you know, a real example of religious tolerance. And that is an example of, you know, really experiencing God, or Chineke, really experiencing Chineke, and putting aside your different beliefs. We're too focused on all of these different belief systems and not focused on what we need to be focused on, which is Chineke.
Yeah, focus on, because even though everybody has their own way of getting Chineke, the important thing is what is Chineke supposed to represent?
Yes.
Love, peace, call it whatever you may. There's no need for all these killings. And I think that as long as, I've said it earlier, as long as we don't have an apology from these Abrahamic religions for all the atrocities that have been, that humanity has been flogged with, if we don't get an apology, it will repeat itself as it is. It's repeating itself. The killings have not stopped. If you look at what's going on with the Fulanese in Nigeria, the killing under the banner of religion, that's still going on. It hasn't stopped, and it's not going to stop, because they are not cognizant. Even the book, you said it earlier, even in the Bible and in the Quran, it talks about where God wants you to kill.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't believe in me, kill them. So some of these terrorist groups are actually following the religious books literally.
Yes.
And carrying out the dictates of quote unquote God or the Messiah or whoever. You see. So it's so important that when we talk about peace in the world, we must demand that these religions make amends, tell the truth, apologize, understand what you even if you personally as a Christian is a beautiful person and you do the right things, you must start demanding that anything done in your name is a falsity that you don't embrace. It's an evil that you will not embrace. We must not accept these things. And we now, traditional religionists have not been engaged in this kind of thing. All right. Now, these religions get upset when you start talking about it, but good, get upset because you need to know that it's wrong. Look at what happened to the Native Americans. Look at what happened to them. Millions of them were killed.
Mm-hmm.
For what? Because of God? Because you want territory? Is it God who wants territories or is it you who wants territories? So if we're going to talk about peace and love in the world, we have to admit where we went wrong. In therapy, you have to go back. Nobody when I do therapy sessions, I don't have you just jump in and start talking, you know. Now, if we're doing a life coaching, that's one thing. But in therapy, you have to take you back to where your issue started.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to be addressed. We have to, what was the problem in the past? What caused it? Why are you where you are today? You didn't start where you are today, you know, you just didn't, it wasn't just a happenstance. There was a reason behind it. There's a reason why religious strife continues to exist today, because those who are practicing some of these religions don't want to admit the wrongs that their religion has caused humanity. So it's not a matter of, oh, we're picking Christianity against, we're picking against Christians or Muslims. So no, they are good Muslims. They are good Christians. But there is a history of man's inhumanity to his fellow man, and it must be addressed. You can't turn the other way. You can't turn your back. It will not correct itself because it's still happening. If you look at what's happening to the Afghan women now, it's because of religion. They can't Afghanistan has literally shut down the rights of women. Now your little son, again, women were so excited. Things have changed. Now they can go to school. They can become what they want to be. If you have a little girl, it's okay. Now it's a nightmare again. You can't go anywhere unless your little boy, the little boy that you birth, has to give you, the mother, the permission to step out of the house. What kind of insanity is that?
That's horrible. It's horrible.
Now they're walking around. Have you ever seen a pack of sardines? Have you ever seen a pack of sardines, how it looks like? You know, they can't move. I've seen that, you know, people fishing without a fishing rod. You know, these fish, they're swept to a corner of the riverbed by for whatever reason. You see a whole bunch of them there. That's when I look at these women, I see a bunch of fish. It's like a bunch of fish, you know, crowded. They can't move. They can't move. There's no water. And the only one to help them is some little brat, excuse the expression, that they birth.
Yes.
My little boy is telling me I can't go nowhere. And talk back to me, and I'm feeding your little behind? I don't think so. But those things are happening. So we're back in the cave age. We're back in the time of women, man's inhumanity to women. That's what's going on there. And it's just not there. This is why religion can be a good thing, but it can be dangerous. And it's dangerous as long as what they are doing is not addressed. We who are not of that Abrahamic We're not part of the Abrahamic religion. We should not be quiet. We should not be quiet because it affects us too. I was at the airport in Port Harcourt, and there was this pastor. He was sitting next to me, and we were eating, and I was eating, and he wanted to start up a conversation. So he was, how was my Christmas and all that sort of thing. So I just, I said to him, I don't celebrate Christmas. I celebrate Kwanzaa. You should see that he was aghast. You know how what's his name? What's this African American actor? Red Fox. Red Fox. Oh, I'm coming to join you, honey. I thought he was going to pass out. That's exactly the expression on his face. What? So he started to lecture me. Why don't you believe? So I said, listen to yourself. I came to Nigeria on my own. My money. I fed myself. I buried my mother. I did everything I had to do. Without you, I think I can survive without you. I don't need you to lecture me. Mm-hmm. But he felt at that moment, really, oh my God, you don't believe. I don't. And you know what? It's okay because Chineke is cool with it. Excuse the expression. Mm-hmm. I'm here. Like if Chineke doesn't think it's the right thing, I won't be here. So mind your own business. Take care of yourself. Celebrate whatever you want to celebrate. But he didn't want to know what was Kwanzaa. He didn't want to know what I believed. He was just freaking out that I didn't believe what he believed. And that is because these people do not want to accept that there's something that's wrong in their history. When they see somebody who doesn't buy into all that negativity, all those lies, they freak out. So Yudi, is it because they don't know the truth? What do you attribute that to?
Well, this is a deep one. So let me take our audience to school and create a level of unkomi. Let's go deep here, right? Because on the surface, everything you're saying is absolutely correct. All the evil and everything that is being done in the name of Jesus, in the name of Muhammad, in the name of God, blah, 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 blah. Well, here's the problem. It is a flaw in the theology. Let me explain myself. In Chiism, in Godianism, what do we say in Chiism? From me to Chineke, there's no distance. From me to God, there's no distance. The God you seek is in you. Do unto others as you would like Chineke to do unto you. God is not up there. I am the God that you're talking about.
Yes.
Say it again.
Thou shalt not kill. It is me doing the killing. It is not some spirit up in the sky.
Yes.
Thou shalt not lie. It's not up in the sky doing the lying. It is me. Thou shalt not covet your neighbor's wife. It is not somebody from the sky doing anything. Thou shalt not bear false witnesses. It is you. The 10 commandments that is natural, 120 130 commandments, whatever commandments of that controls human behavior, you are in control of it. The flaw in the theology is that you have removed Chineke from you and put Chineke up there somewhere. So now you're fighting for this weak Chineke that can't fight for itself, because the truth of the matter is there is nothing that Chineke can do up there that is not controlled by your actions. You're the one doing the killing. You're the one doing the lying. You're the one doing all these atrocities. The jihad that you're fighting, you're not fighting it with some spirit up there. You're fighting it with yourself. So the flaw in the theology is the fact that you have removed Chineke from you and hung God up there somewhere that is so unreachable that you now feel that you have a duty to do God's bidding for God. You make up the rules of what God wants you to do. There is no voice from the sky coming and telling you, go and kill your neighbor from me. It is from you that those evil commandments come from. You steal, you lie, you conquer, you step on women, you dishonor your own mother. That action is not coming from the sky. It's not coming from an old man up there. It is a flaw in the theology. For you to change them, you have to change the theology. And if you change it, then the theology ceases to exist.
Yes.
You can't change it. You can't. There's nothing you can do about it. To change it means to deny their authenticity, to deny their existence, to abolish both Abrahamic religions. Even Judaism has a middleman in everything they do. They have spiritual heroes, but Abraham was a middleman between the Hebrews and God. So was Moses. So was God, always choosing some indigent, chose David, chose Samson, chose Ruth, chose Abraham, chose Moses, chose Lot, choosing somebody to do his or her will. And in Abrahamic religion, God is a man. It's not a woman. That's why women in Abrahamic religion are not respected. That's why there's nothing about the Abrahamic religion that extols the woman, because they've decided rules that they themselves made up, because they have never seen God to tell me if God is swinging or not. It is a flaw in the theology. It was written by man, designed for control, both economic and political control. It has nothing to do with God, because if it had anything to do with God, then these religions will respect human relationships, understanding that from me to Chineke, from me to God, there is no distance. That's why Chiism has always been the oldest religion. When men realize and women realize that there's something greater than themselves responsible for life-sustaining forces, religion became automatic in them. So you can't stop it. You got a bunch of criminals out here running around in the name of God, extolling and bestowing all kinds of political and economic power, telling you that the only way for you to have salvation...
Men of God.
Men of God, telling you the only way to salvation is to listen to men, not listen to Chineke. But in Chiism, the oldest religion, because of the etymology of religion, there is no distance between you and the Creator. The God you seek is in you. That is Igbo culture. That is African culture. Mona Chiiso, I walk with God. So if we expect apologies from these people, then it means that they have to give up the power. They're not going to give it up, because there's a flaw in their theology, because God does not reside in you. God resides somewhere else, and you make up the rules and the laws for this God that is up there that has no power to make up his own rules and enforce it. You have to enforce it for that God. So it is impossible to change their minds because of the flaw in theology, because in Abrahamic religions, they don't believe that Chineke, God, resides in you. They don't believe that from you to Chineke, there is no distance. They're not going anywhere without a fight. And that's why you have your jihad. That's why you have your crusades. And they're going to continue it, because they are never going to cease to exist unless people start a deeper dive into the idea of Chineke, as we explained it. I'm not preaching exclusive truth. All I'm saying is, Madubuchibea, you're like God to your fellow human beings, because all God's blessings come or flow through somebody else. Doesn't come from the sky. Chineke already created the world, a beautiful place, and have given us the life-sustaining forces for us to exist and survive. And it is up to us as human beings to take care of these life-sustaining forces. And part of the life-sustaining force is your fellow human being, because without another human being, you will not exist. Period. Go get it. I can't hear you.
I want to ask Dibia Chidozie a question. And that question is, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Incas. Are you familiar with the Incas? You're not. UD, are you familiar with the Incas?
The Incas of South Central America. You have the Incas,
Yes.
you have the Mayans, and you have the Aztecs. The Aztecs are more Mexico. The Incas are more like Nicaragua and all those areas. Yes.
Yeah. So it's not just the Muslim and the Christians. They also were engaged in atrocities, like in the 1200s. You
Yeah.
know, they built their empire in Peru. Peru.
Mm-hmm.
I hope I'm saying it correctly. Yeah, it was dominated by priests. You know, they
Yeah.
reading all the daily magical signs and offering sacrifices to appease many gods because they were polytheistic. And some of the ceremonies that they were engaged in was the killings of children.
Yep.
They sacrificed children, they burned them as offerings,
Of
and
their
they also
enemies.
burned women.
Yeah.
I mean, they struggled women. So they too, their religion, I mean, and it's still going straight, also owe the world an apology. I'm just picking on those who have done these things. They need to acknowledge what they did in the past so that they can move forward. If you find your religion is dwindling, it is because of that. You know, it's because of that. This woman is I have somebody who's so much interested in Chiist University. She's calling me every day wanting to know when is it opening because she wants to do her PhD. So we're excited. We're going to be talking about that next Sunday, not today, but all day I've been getting her email. When are we opening? When are we opening? So we're gearing up. We're gearing up with our website where the excitement.
We put everything, and realistically, we have to start it this summer so that we have everything in place. It's expanded even beyond the scope that we originally started with. I think part of it I discussed with you, with the CBD and all that kind of stuff. So we got some really exciting things that are going to be part of Chiist University, and I can't wait for us all, all four of us to kind of get together and talk about it, and also get this thing going. It's exciting.
Well, we have a couple of other universities that want to collaborate.
One more thing I just want to point out from what you were talking about with the Incas, only 30 seconds. You notice the Incas also believed in gods that were not associated with the self, just like in Christianism and all that. And any religion that separates Chineke from you as a person, they end up in all these atrocities and human sacrifices and all that. So it's not just about Christianity and Islam or Judaism or what have you, or Abrahamic religion, but any religion that sees God outside of the human being, the human spirit, is guilty. Through
that's it. That is the concept of Ma'at, and Kalfani did point that out. Self-law points to the being, not others. You are responsible, for your actions, and you can't blame anyone else. You can't say it's God did it. You did it. Every one of us have the blessing, the wherewithal to do the right thing. The question is, do we choose to do so? Chiedozie, do you want to add anything to the conversation?
I hope you
can you? We can hear you. Okay, raise the volume. Raise the volume.
The volume is to the last.
Okay, it's better.
You can hear.
Okay, it's better. It's better. Go ahead.
Well, I think the last point, which last submission, sums it up. When
he's out, he's gone.
You form your God, and then you impose that God on other people. Now, and then if you look at one thing with the traditional religion, especially the Igbo traditional religion, it has this balance of no. There's a balance. If you are seeking for justice, you must balance it with innocence, with equity. So there is usually these balance in our own traditional religion. So that, like among the Yorubas, I'm an initiate of the Yoruba traditional religion. And one thing you'll find amongst them is that when they meet, you find Christians, you find Muslims, you find traditionalists in the same family, extending to places like Esako, Auchi. So you'll find that they mingle together because the culture is about the human being. The culture is about living together. It's on the principles of duality, complementarity, Igbo and Danda, working together. Hold your faith. God is one, but the ways are not the same. That is what will bring about peace, perpetual peace amongst the different faiths.
Have we lost him?
Yes, it seems as if he's not. He's frozen.
It's frozen. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to ask each one of us, each one of you. This has been a very, very interesting. I mean, it's huge, more huge than we've been able to cover today. But at least we touched upon some key points that I think it's important that people should know. But I would like you to, UD, to make your closing statement, and then you, Dr. Monet.
Let me say this. Love is the highest religion. Love is the highest religion. And any religion that does not teach its adherents to love their fellow human being and do unto others as you would like Chineke, God, to do unto you.
Yes.
Understanding that the God you seek is in you is no true religion, because it doesn't recognize its etymology in the first place. It doesn't recognize the understanding and appreciation of life-sustaining forces. It doesn't understand that the human being is part of this life-sustaining forces. Because number one, without a human being, you cannot procreate. So we can talk about the waters that we drink and the air that we breathe. We can talk about all that stuff. Those are nice life-sustaining forces. But without humans, procreation, economics, sustenance is almost, put it this way, it's impossible. So any religion that does not teach love, preach love, and live love is no true religion. Love one another. Love is the highest religion.
Thank you. Thank
Yes.
you. Dr. Monet.
Yes, I would just like to say, and coming from the perspective that at one time I was a Christian, and I like to give this testimonial of how I got out of Christianity, how Chineke had got me out of religion, because in studying, Chineke started to open up truths to me. So I just wanted to share this scripture. It's from John 14:20, and it says, "On the day you will realize that I am in the Father, and you are in me, and I am in you." Meaning, why would I need a preacher? Something opened up inside of me that said, why do I need a preacher to tell me about Chineke when Chineke lives inside of me? That was my first realization of that. I knew no other religion. I was exposed to no other religion but the ancestors, and Chineke was preparing me years ago for who I am today. And the realization that I do not have to go outside of myself to experience and have a relationship with Chineke. And just like Dibia, Uncle Yudi just said, I started to tell people, they would ask me, what is my religion? And I started to tell people that I practice love. That I practice love because I knew And I know that Chineke is love. And that is what many of us in all of our religions is lacking. This other thing I would like to address is what Your Excellency was saying earlier about apology. I believe that the Abrahamic religion should apologize. And one thing they need to apologize more than anything, as me being an African person, African people and those of the diaspora, for one, you need to apologize for demonizing our religious practices, something that they are still doing today.
Yes.
You need to put in law that you, just like any other people or tradition, that you are not allowed to demonize, create movies that are not truthful.
Yes.
Create all of these things that are not truthful, having to do with our religion.
Yes.
And, this needs to be an apology, because I think it will start the process in us reconnecting with the practices of our ancestors, which is so important.
That's
I
right.
think the state that we're in right now is because we have totally disconnected from our ancestors. And we have no respect for who they were. When you say that the religious practices of West Africa, from where your people was from, what they came here from as victims, when you say that is evil out of your mouth as a African or someone of the diaspora, it is incredibly disrespectful to your ancestors. We need to, and I stand up for
That's
that.
right.
No, you should not be saying that my African practices, the practices of my ancestors, the only practices they knew before they were enslaved and colonized, is evil. That needs to be an apology for that.
That's right.
And I'm very passionate about that.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Thank you so much. This was a wonderful, wonderful program. I'd like to thank everybody who joined us today. I'd like to thank Dr. Monet. I'd like to thank Dibia Yudi Charger for joining us. Chiadozi, unfortunately, he's having difficulty with his with the internet network in Nigeria. So he's just sent me a note of apology. I'd like to remind you, the whole purpose of spirituality is to teach morality. It is to teach us morality and bring us closer to whatever we call God. Okay? But we cannot do it lying. All right? The morality is the foundation. That is what uplifts us. That's what shows our character. That's what determines our character, the quality of the conditions in our lives. We cannot continue to lie and expect people to come and rally around us. It helps people to trust us. If you have a religion and you want people to rally towards the religion, be truthful, because it helps people to trust you and come to you. If you want people to trust you, then you need to be able to not lie to them. Lying to people is the reason why a lot of people who are learned, a lot of people who are reading, particularly our young people, that is why they are migrating away from these religions. People need to trust you. People need to believe in you. People need to rely on you. People need to know that what you're telling them is the truth. And that is African spirituality. Before the priest speaks, he has to eat the osoji. Osoji, you have to eat it. It's hot. What is the name in English, Yudi?
Alligator pepper.
Alligator pepper, yeah.
Yeah, you cannot preach unless you eat it, and it has a spiritual significance, so that what you say is expected to be the truth. So let us understand that. If you want people to love you, apologize for what you've done in the past, and then tell the truth from henceforth. Thank you, Kafani Kwame Anu. Thank you, Chukwu Ukuna. Thank you, Akachi Azubike. Thank you. Let's see who else is here. Emeka Onyoha. Thank you to my dear Peabody. Thank you for all those that I cannot, who joined us, but I can't find where you are because I'm seeing some numbers here. So thank you for joining us. And we're going to have another exciting show next week. And don't drink the Kool-Aid, as they say, you know. Base your life on the truth and keep it moving. If you're Chiist, that's the expectation. Yagazino. Well, until we see you again next year, remember, right where you are, God is. Yagazino.
Next week. You said next year.
Next week. I'm so sorry.
All right.
Okay, you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. Yagazino.
Yeah, guys.
Oh, thank you. That was a really good show.